This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones, a podcast for the everyday runner. I'm your host, Allie Bretnacher, and if you run, you're a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me each Friday as I share these stories, and we cross finish lines and celebrate milestones together. I am still riding such a big high from the Indy Mini Marathon that was this past weekend in Indianapolis. It is an iconic half marathon and 5K that goes through downtown, also runs around the track at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is where the Indy 500 takes place. And I have so much to say about this weekend that I cannot put it all into this episode. So I'm working on a recap, which always takes me forever, but I will get there. So I did the expo, I had an event, and I also ran the race. It was a ton of work, but it was so rewarding and it was the best. I cannot wait until next year. So first, before I forget, I want to thank everybody who was involved in the I'll Have Another live show with Lindsay Hine, who came in town, and we had an event at the Bottleworks Hotel. So shout out to Bottleworks, where we had a live podcast featuring Cameron Balzer, who's been on this podcast before. Go listen to that episode. And then Kim Conley, a two-time Olympian. Cameron was the one who ran around the perimeter of the United States, by the way. So we had two incredibly different and very impressive runners and a room full of some of my most favorite people. So it was simply the best. Thank you to everybody who helped make it possible. Bottleworks, Brooks Running, Athletic Annex, Athlete Bouquets, that's my own business, Bitch Sticks, Previnex, Transcend Training and Performance, Project Lean Nation, and Stretch Lab. So if you were at the event and didn't have time to dig in and chat with our sponsors, please go show them some love. Even if you weren't there, these are great organizations, both local and national, that you can support. And thank you, of course, to Lindsay for allowing me to do this with her. It's all because I'm now part of Sandy Boy Productions podcast network that I get amazing opportunities like this, and we hope to do it, who knows, year over year. And then congratulations to Alan Arichiello, who won our on-site giveaway that we forgot to give away in person. We pulled the attendees and did a random spin after the fact. And Alan happens to be the president of the Fishers Run Club, which is very relevant to today's conversation, which we will get into. And he's also going to be on this podcast very soon. So stay tuned. You'll get to know Alan better. He was on crutches and in a boot at the event. So thank you, Alan, for coming out. And then a couple other things I wanted to talk about. So Ainsley's Angels, which if you're watching the video, I am in my hot pink sweatshirt, which I now want to live in. Ainsley's Angels is an organization that helps give people the opportunity to experience a finish line without being able to run. So I pushed with my friend Ashley Schwab, who did it with me last year, and then her friend Lindsay joined us as well. There were three of us, which helped share the load. And then my friend Alyssa, and then Christy D and Rachel Cinders, they all pushed as well, and they got to push the twin sister to our girl. So our girl's name is Emmeline, their twin's name is Kaylin, and their mom is Renee. She has an incredible story all on her own. Again, I could go into this here, but I'm going to save it for my recap. And just looking back at the pictures of Emmeline's smile fills me up. And if you have any interest in running with Ainsley's Angels, you can go to their website, ainsleysangels.org. You can join, and that will get you information about upcoming events that you can participate in with them. And I found out that at the Marine Corps Marathon that I signed up to do with Ainsley's Angels, there's not two runners, there's one. So I'm panicking a little bit about my training. Marine Corps is a hilly race, but it's so iconic and it means a lot to Ainsley's Angels. I got to meet her dad and talk to him, and so I'm just feeling even more inspired and called to participate in a full marathon with Ainsley's Angels. So another thing you might have heard about if you're local is that a young man sadly passed away after running the Indy Mini. He was only 29. His name is Pat Holden, and he leaves behind a wife. They just moved to New York City. He had a job with Eli Lilly where he was working on cancer stuff. I mean, what a great human, and so horrible to have lost him so young. So there's a GoFundMe for his wife and family that I'm going to link in the show notes. So if you feel called to support his family, please go do that. And then last but not least, a congratulations to my friend Gordon Strain, who was on this podcast a while back. He crushed the Flying Pig Marathon, which was Sunday, the day after the Indy Mini. And I'm so proud of you, Gordon. I hope you're still celebrating. So this week I have Stephanie Perry on the podcast. Stephanie just ran the Indy Mini as well. And she's been running for about 7 years now. We talk about how she got into it. And now she works for the city of Fishers, which owns another local race of ours called the Geist Half Marathon. So we talk all about that, how she became a marathoner last year after taking 18 months to get there. And you'll just really love her energy, and the support she has for this running community is really inspiring. So enjoy this conversation with Stephanie Perry. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am good. Thanks for having me on. This is so fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's my favorite thing.
I could talk about running all the time.
I am still on such a high from this weekend.
You had such a busy weekend with your BottleWorks event, and then you have a birthday party?
Yeah, my daughter turned 4 last week as well.
I know how you did that.
I don't either.
That's amazing.
I did, though, and I didn't
did?
get sick, knock on wood. I was thinking I would just run myself into the ground.
Hopefully you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pushed, right, with, is it Ainsley's Angels?
Yep.
Or I love that. My husband's very intrigued to try that.
Yep, next year. For the 50th Mini, they want 50
gosh.
teams. So
And you've done it a few years now, right?
twice. This was my second year. Yeah.
Oh, it looks great. I watched your video at the finish line when you were tearing up.
I was like sobbing. I can't wait to. I just watch it
What
over
a
and over.
cool experience.
It's
though.
great. I highly recommend it. Yeah, you and Josh should do it together.
Oh yeah, because you have
Because you have 2 people typically.
That's nice.
We ended up having 3 because of whatever reason.
I
but
love
it was
that.
It was nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, you had a jam-packed weekend. The event looked amazing.
It was so good.
On Friday. Yes.
Yeah. So thanks to
fun.
everybody who came.
Yes.
It was so fun because there's so many people at the beginning. I said, who's been on the Finish Lines and Milestones podcast?
Oh, it was like half the
And
room.
I swear like half the room raised their hands. And I said to the rest of the room, I'm coming for you because you're all runners. And, you know, we need to celebrate every kind of runner.
I love that. Yes, for sure.
Which I am excited to talk to you about today because
Yes.
you said you have imposter syndrome about being a runner because you don't run fast.
Okay.
Which I think people relate to a lot.
Yes. And I think this is something I'm working on, but so much of my friends who don't run, they're like, I can't get into running. I'm not fast, or I'm scared to run outside. I don't want people like seeing me struggle. You know, I have to stay on my treadmill. And it's ridiculous. And I think even with myself, you know, I do these races and I'm like, oh, my time's so slow. And, you know, my husband's a much faster runner. And I have friends who are faster runners. But then I'm like, okay, but I ran a marathon and
In an ultra marathon.
And so I think that that's something that keeps people from running. And so no matter what, you're a runner. And, you know, speed isn't everyone's goal. And I was just thinking about that. I was like, what's my next running goal? Because it was conquering the marathon. And for a long time, it was getting faster. And now I'm like, well, it's unrealistic. You're going to PR every race. I'm not at a point in my life where I'm going to PR. And so speed isn't really in my goals right now. So why let that hold me back mentally?
Yeah. Yes. It's so weird how we do that to ourselves.
It is. It is. And yeah, I think you find the goal and the distance that works. I really enjoy the long runs. I love running slow, just tuning everything out, having my alone time as a mom, just the mental health break. And yes, speed works great and it's important, you know, with training, but I would much rather do those long, slow runs. And that's what keeps me excited and passionate about running.
Yes.
So, yeah, I always tell my friends, they're like, I could never do what you do. It's like, well, years ago, I could never run more than 3 miles. And even if you're out there and you're just doing a mile, you're still running.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I love all the memes that it says, you know, a 15-minute mile is the same distance as a 6-minute mile kind of stuff. You're like, yeah, it is. It's true.
Yeah. Well, and then I like to like make myself feel better. And I'm like, well, I actually ran longer than this person.
I ran for 4 hours instead of 2. So
when I was training, my husband and I were both training for the marathon. He's much faster. And so, you know, I was like, okay, I'm on my feet a lot longer. And it's a different approach to training when you're going to be on your feet that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously approaching my second marathon this year, I'd love to PR because I only have one to compare it to.
Yeah.
But, you know, more than that, I really want to tackle a 50K and get even further and longer. So
cool. Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about the Mini since we just had it.
Oh, my gosh.
So how many times have you done the Indy Mini?
So I have done it. I think this is my 4th year. I've only really gotten into running 7 years ago when I turned 30. So this is my 4th time doing it. It was canceled like 2 years, right, with COVID, 20 and 21. And so honestly, I don't really like the Indy Mini. I feel like it's very controversial to say. It's, it's never been my race. It's never been a race that I've done great at. It was my first half, so it has that special place in my heart, and it was the year it downpoured.
I'm trying to remember,
I think it was like 18 or 19. It literally rained the entire time.
I think that's the one where I have these after party photos where I'm wearing a trash bag. I'm pretty sure that was the year.
It was but you know what? I made it through. And so it does have a place in my heart. I ran it this year with some friends who have never done a half.
Oh, that's so fun.
And, it's such an iconic race, but monumental. That's my race right there. And, I love Carmel. But this honestly was my worst half marathon.
By time or experience?
Both. It was, time was not great. It was not my day. It was like everything went wrong. And I say this, I'm lucky, I didn't get hurt. Yeah. I'm able to race. I'm healthy. But starting off, I looked down at gear check to put my gels in my shorts. I wore the wrong shorts. Like, how do you wear the wrong shorts? They were laying right next to my race day outfit. So I didn't have the pocket that I was going to put my gels in. And so, start off. And I was running with those UCAN Edge gels. Those are big.
Yeah, they are.
More than like the Goos. And so I stuffed them in my pocket with my phone. So it's like jam full, you know. And then at some point during the race, I lost my last gel because I took my phone out and it must have, I have no idea where it fell out. I went to take it. So that threw me off. My water bottle, handheld, leaked everywhere. It was a new Nathan's handheld.
Dude, my Nathan's leaks.
I don't know.
Swear. I mean, they make nice products, but like the one I have leaks too. It drives me nuts.
And I was running and I was like, why am I getting wet? Is it raining? Is someone like spilling their water? And I looked down and my handheld that had been full because I had been pouring the water cups into it, completely empty. I'm like soaked with water. So obviously that threw me off. At one point I dropped my headphones and this guy's like, your headphones. So I have to go back.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just lots of little things. And then this is the first half I've had to pee. I was like, I got to stop.
Yeah.
And then I counted. It was like 9 minutes standing in the porta potty line, just watching.
Where did you stop to use the bathroom?
So it was like right before the track.
Yeah.
Mile, what is that, like 5?
Yeah, 5. So it's like in that building?
No, I didn't go to the building. I stopped before you go Main Street Speedway because I was like, is the building going to be crazy? Because everyone stops.
Like, you'd rather not have a porta potty.
The first few miles, the line was long. I was like, okay, I'm going to wait. And usually I'm like, I'll just keep running. I won't have to pee anymore. But no. So then I wasted 9 minutes. And when that happened, I lost my friend. And it was her first half and she crushed it. But I couldn't catch up to her.
Yeah.
And so worst time, lots of little things. And then you just get in this like negative headspace.
Yeah.
And I was texting my husband because he was already at the finish line because he's fast. And he's like, you need to like fix your attitude. I'm like, I know, but you know you're not going to catch up at that point. So it wasn't great to answer your original question. But your race, I mean, what an awesome experience to be able to do that.
So that's another opportunity to plug Ainsley's Angels because actually, so I've never used a porta potty in a race, ever.
Did you have to this time?
And I didn't, but our girl did.
Yeah.
So for people who are catching up or may not know, so Ainsley's Angels is an organization where you can push people who can't run. And so our girl has Down syndrome and her name's Emmeline and she's 13 and she has a twin sister and they were the best, absolutely the best. Oh. So anyway, she's like, smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's not. And I'm like, something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but I could tell she was unhappy. And at first I thought it was the sun in her eyes because the sun finally came out. And so we're like, do you want a hat? Do you want our sunglasses? And I could just tell like that, okay, that wasn't it. And so finally I'm like, we've been giving her water and Gatorade every time we pass an aid station. And I was like, do you have to go to the bathroom? And she did. And I'm like, okay. So we were lucky. And there was like literally right up ahead, there were porta potties. But so we stopped, and I got to pee, too, which was kind of nice, actually.
Yeah.
But she locked herself in the porta potty, Stephanie, and we were like, what do we do? Because I don't know how long it's supposed to take her to go to the bathroom or if she needs my help. And she wouldn't let us go in with her. And so we just kind of stood outside the porta potty in a panic. Okay, what happens if she like doesn't come out or...
Did you know she was locked because she was like banging on the door?
No, she wasn't like trapped inside, but she was just doing her thing, right? But we're just like, does she need our help?
Yes.
I mean, she's 13. She, you know, but we don't know. And so that was pretty wild. And it was an interesting experience. I called her mom in a panic and she couldn't hear me because there was like a DJ right next to us. Anyway, it was quite an experience. But what was cool about that is like up until that point, my friend Ashley, who I ran with last year as well, was like, come on. Like, she's like trying to get me to go fast. And I'm like, slow down. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I've had such a weekend.
Yeah.
But, you know, it humbles you when you have to stop and take care of someone else. And you're just like, yeah, this is what matters, not the time.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool to pause and, you know, just realize that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. The time doesn't matter. That's not why we were out there.
Well, and that, I think embracing that, like so often I don't let myself have fun because it's like I'm not kissing the bricks. I'm not taking photos. Yeah. You know, the previous years I've done it. And I kind of kicked myself this year. Last year I got a donut from Dave Calabro.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fun. But then I kind of regretted eating the donut later in the race. I was like, ugh.
Was it a full donut or donut
It was
holes?
a full donut last year. But yeah, I think that's the thing is like, when I ran the Monumental, my first marathon last year, my goal, I had no time goal. And it was like, let's just have fun. And because of that, it removed that pressure. And I was like, I think I need to start approaching that more with these halves because every half in the back of your mind, it's like, I want a PR. And just having fun is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so I should have had a better attitude. I shouldn't have let it get to me. But, you know.
I mean, that's so much easier said than done, especially in the moment,
For sure.
especially when it sucks when you're on the track because the track is 2.5 miles. It feels like forever.
For sure.
At least the weather was really good.
Yeah. The weather was good. It was a little humid at first, but then it like cooled down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the mini's always a little tricky because sometimes it's hot.
Yes.
Sometimes it's cold. And that's another reason I think the Monumental I love. I'm like, usually it's always kind of brisk.
Yeah.
Like you kind of know what you're getting. But Carmel also, were you supposed to run Carmel?
Right.
Got canceled.
Yeah, that was such a bummer. I decided not to run, which was a big deal for me because I was signed up for the half.
Oh, you
I
were
really
registered.
wanted to.
Okay.
But then the race decided that they were going to put me at mile 20 for like a cheer zone. And I'm like, you know what? I can miss a year. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I can just focus on cheering. And I was doing the expo too. So again, kind of like my weekend with the Mini, there was a lot of stuff. I was like, something's got to give. I won't run. And so thankfully, sort of, I wasn't planning on running, but I had met so many people at the expo, like their first marathon or, you know, you name it. And you're just like, man.
Those are the people I was thinking about that morning is like, it wasn't a race I was really trained for. I didn't have to travel for it. It wasn't my first half or full. And I just, my heart felt for those people that, you know, had trained so much for that day. But so many other local races with like the discounts and
they did a good job
support.
Of figuring out how to find
great.
people a replacement race. I know a lot of people went to Illinois.
Yes.
Glass City in Ohio. Yeah. There were, you know, some good options, thankfully.
So and the Mini, then it sold out because it was 2 weeks later.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was ready to do, like, I was going to do it, but I was not trained to the point. And even this Mini, as much as it wasn't a great race, I really wasn't fully trained. And I had back-to-back trips. I had gotten sick for a week. I had taken a whole week and a half off running right before Carmel, which is not usually something I do. And so that's the other thing is life is unpredictable. And one of my trips was to Colorado for the first time, and I've never run at elevation. And that was a whole experience. Because I had in my plan, I was like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do, 6 miles. And I started running. I was like, this sucks.
So humbling.
It is humbling. And so, it is what it is. And I'm really excited to try some different races. I've always done the local races. And I think, doing some more out of state and some destination races would be really fun. That's another goal.
Yeah, I love that for you. There's so many.
I know. Well, I applied for Chicago. Okay. And so many people, I did not get in. My husband and I both applied. And so that was going to be kind of my first out of town. But if I had done that, I probably wouldn't have done the Monumental. So it's just, a chance to do another race I love. But I'm eyeing a few for next year. I kind of need to decide where I want to go. And, with the lotteries, if you're going to do a lottery, where you can get in.
Yeah.
But because I've always done mini, I've never done flying pig. And I used to live in Cincinnati.
Oh.
So next year I'm thinking, I've done the mini now. It's not my favorite course. Maybe I will do the flying pig.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's hilly. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but there are people that go from the mini to do the flying pig.
In the same weekend.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know. Well, a few years ago, do you remember when the flying pig had like all that flooding? And oh my gosh. Have you done the race?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested, but kind of for the same reason. It's always the mini weekend, and so I just haven't. I mean, can you imagine with my schedule how it's been at the mini? It's like I can't imagine then turning around and going to Cincinnati. Although throwing a 4-year-old's birthday party is probably similar.
Oh my gosh, yeah, having that all in the same weekend is rough.
Yeah, it flew by though.
Mom
I mean,
life.
It's like one thing at a time. Run the mile you're in.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So balancing mom life and running is a whole adventure
yeah.
in itself.
How old are your kids?
So 4, going to be 5 next month, and 7.
5 and 7. Okay, so we're really similar.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, they're finally to the age where I feel like they're a little more independent, especially my 7-year-old. But for years, it was like my husband's a runner too. So it's like, how do we run together?
Yes.
So we got the little stroller and he pushed it because I'm like, you're faster, you're stronger. But now, up until a few months ago, he could still push them both. And it was like laughable because my 7-year-old's huge and so tall. And then you have this 50-pound stroller. And so we started trying to make him bike with us.
Yes. Yeah. That's a game changer.
Which is like a game changer. But he can't do like a long run. Right. You can do a few miles. But then my 4-year-old, she still has like her training wheels on. So just trying to figure that out is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, that is tricky. I signed up to push for the Marine Corps Marathon this year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. Like, it'll be great. I'll have somebody do it with me. It'll be so great.
Yeah.
And then I found out that it's a 1-to-1.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
okay.
oh, shit.
So
I'm like, okay, well, that changes it in my mind a little bit in terms of how I'm going to really need to focus on being able to train differently. And so I was just talking to somebody yesterday. I'm like, I got rid of my jogging stroller. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to have to either like find somebody to let me borrow one for a while. Yeah. But my 7, almost 8-year-old, she can bike with me and do a bike run and she can go up to like 6 miles. I'm sure we can grow into further distances. But then I'm going to really have to have my 4-year-old watch a movie and have me like do my stuff with the stroller.
I didn't think about that. Like, did you train with a stroller this time around? Okay.
Because with the mini, it's not in quotes like just a half, it's still really a challenging thing, but being able to trade off with somebody, especially 2 people.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. 1-to-1. That's pressure. But
I'm like, okay, so cool.
But it's like a challenge for yourself, right? It's
I'm
like
getting more and more excited about it because I'm like, this
challenge.
is a whole new challenge that's so exciting. Because to your point, you can't PR every race. And I really don't have a desire to PR every race because I'm afraid that if I do that, I'll put too much pressure on myself and burn out, which I do not want because obviously running is like my life.
Yeah.
So I keep thinking of ways to make it, enjoyable, different, but still challenging. And now that I met Ainsley's dad at the expo. He was in town this year for the mini. And it was just like,
what a cool experience.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing organization.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. That's such a good, it's like, what is your goal and why do you run? And I think about that, and like races kind of keep me accountable. If I don't have a race, I kind of let the running go. But it's like I run for my mental health. I run for this hobby that I love and for, the experience and the journey of the run. And that's not always about speed, but it's easy to forget that when you're comparing yourself to everyone
to other
or
people.
Going through Strava.
Yes.
And sometimes, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, oh, my time isn't really good. But then to your point, it's like, well, I still ran 10 miles, even if it's not fast. So, I don't know. It's just this whole new world that's opened up to me in the last 7 years since I got into it. Yeah.
So what made you first sign up for the mini that you did first?
Yeah, so I had my first son right before I turned 30, and my husband, who actually had barely ever run in his life, just decided he, just kind of going through this transition as a new parent and the stress, he was like, I'm going to, try to do this. He didn't really have like a hobby at the time.
Yeah.
So he just started running. And, I was at home taking care of a baby. But then he convinced me to sign up for the Wishbone 5K, the Fisher's YMCA's Thanksgiving race. And I was like, okay, and I had run through the years, but strictly for fitness, like more than him, but it was always like 3 miles. And so the fact that I saw him, who could barely run like a 12-minute mile, 1 mile out there, and he was getting faster and he was getting better and he lost 50 pounds.
50 pounds
running. And so he went from, a 12-minute mile to like he could do a 7-minute mile. And so he really inspired me. And so we did the Wishbone together and it was so fun. That's such a fun, like, everyone's dressed up as turkeys.
Yes.
And so he's like, we should do Carmel. I found this Carmel race that's in a few months. And he really wanted to do his first half. And I was very intimidated. So I was like, well, I'll do this 10K distance that I've heard about. But I had never run more than 3 miles. And I still remember the first time I ran 4 miles. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're in 4 miles. And so I did Carmel, the 10K, and I was on a high. And I was like, I'm going to do a half in a month. And so I signed up for the mini a month later and did it in the rain. And something inside of me was like, I cannot believe I never thought I could run a half marathon. And so it became this like shared hobby as new parents during a time when I was trying to like rediscover my identity as a mom. I've always been very independent. And so running gave me that me time that a lot of what I lost. But to have something with my husband that we joined Fisher's Running Club. We started listening to podcasts. We got a Runner's World subscription. We were like all in, got new gear together, had recommendations. And so it's just become this like shared hobby. Like when we go on vacation, we're like, ooh, where do we get to run?
Oh,
like,
it's the best.
Let's plot our running route and doing the races and then seeing my friends. Like we convinced our friends to do the 317 races last year because they're so accessible and fun. And so getting my friends into it, and it's just become such a huge part of my identity. And it's so weird to think about, that up until 7 years ago, I hated it. Like I was out of breath. And it's like you just discover the why and you discover the kind of running that works for you. Because before I was trying to run like fast. I was like, I got to sprint a mile.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of running in a low heart rate zone was like, what? Like, why wouldn't you just go as fast as you can?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a journey, and having Josh to go through with has been really fun.
You guys should start a podcast together.
Oh,
because you're adorable. That's so fun.
Oh, no. Yeah. We always joke because we don't agree on all of the approaches to running and training.
Yeah.
Which makes it fun, too. But, like, seeing him do his first, he's done several ultras. Wow. He's done the full mode the last few years, and he wants to do, like, 100, mile race. And just kind of going on that together keeps it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband and I trained for and ran Chicago together when we were dating.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, fun.
Yeah. And that's when I knew he was a keeper because I was like, hey, I'm signed up to run this marathon. Would you want to do it with me?
Oh, so he wasn't even going to do it until, okay.
He wasn't a runner. He had never run more probably than 3 miles in his life.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember how long I had been running since before I met him. Probably about 4 years. My first mini marathon was in 2007.
Okay.
And then my first marathon was 2010. And we did, I believe, the 2011 Chicago Marathon together, if I remember.
Did you run together?
But we did, yeah.
Wow.
And he surprised me with, like, having shirts made.
Oh.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So fun.
Yeah, it was great. And so you learn a lot about each other as you're running, like, 17 miles, like,
For sure.
It was a really great experience. I miss it. Now he doesn't run, really. Yeah. He even didn't do the mini this year because last year it was super hard because he doesn't train. So he'll, like, run 6 miles and be like, I'm ready. And then as you get older, that doesn't work so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
So do you enjoy running with someone and talking, or are you like, we could run side by side, but let's not talk?
I think it depends at this point on the workout because I use a coach. And so every Friday now I run with my friend Becky Riley.
Okay.
She and I met through this podcast actually. And she we just chat, and it's usually an easy run.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we'd have workouts that like include harder stuff, we'll just chat for the easy recoveries, and then we'll just get down to business when we do any sort of speed. But because my schedule is so flexible, I tend to run mostly by myself because I'm like, hey, anyone run a run at 10 a.m. in the middle of a weekday? People are like, we have to work.
That
Allie.
sounds amazing. I wish I could run at 10 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the luxury is that I don't have to get up to fit it in.
Yeah,
There's been times in my life where I have had to do that, and I've run 15 miles before work at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But that is not the season of life I'm in now. Both my girls are out of the house during the day, and my husband does the gym in the morning. So
that is the one thing, finding the time of day that works for you. Because I used to have to always, for years, if I worked out, it was before work, and I hate the mornings. And so it made me like hate working out and hate running. And then I tried the right after work for a while, and it's like, I am tired. I'm done with my day. And then I found my sweet spot with the lunch run. The lunch run like changed everything for me. And I haven't done it as much in the past year, but a few years ago, I work at the city of Fishers. I started an informal lunch run group. And
that's so cool.
Other employees, it was like an open invitation. There were maybe 15 to 20 of us that would kind of like come and go, but it was just a standing lunch run day every Friday. And we would just do the Nickel Plate Trail, which is right there, 3 to 4 miles. And everyone would just kind of go at the slowest person's pace. So there was never the pressure. But it made me be able to run and talk to people. Because up until then, even when I'd run with Josh, we would like usually start arguing because he's like running my pace, and he, and I'm like pushing myself.
Right.
And I was like, I can't talk. And so running with people, and they all had done so many races, and they supported me so much through my first marathon training. And then, you kind of all of a sudden find yourself running faster to keep up with them. And so doing that in the running club made me like running with people. But for a long time, I was like, I can't run, I can't talk. And that's probably because I was running too fast. Like, you know what I mean? Too. Yeah. So I love the lunch run. And even now, if I can get away and run at lunch, it's great. But those midday runs, in the night run, I'm a big fan of like the 8 or 9 p.m. run, like after the kids go to sleep. And it's just so calming and quiet.
Yes.
And so,
That's
finding
impressive.
when it works for you, I think is key.
Right. Well, because people are like, oh, I don't have time. It's hard because you can make time for stuff that you want to prioritize.
Exactly.
And sure, there are seasons of life where maybe you just don't want to prioritize it.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, that's what prevented me so long from trying to do a marathon was I hear these people and they're like, you need 40-mile weeks. You need to run 6 days a week. And so I was like, there's no way that with my job and the things I'm involved in, and we're traveling a lot on the weekends, like I'm not going to be able to make that work. And then I finally, I was going to PT for my hip, and my PT's a runner, and he does a lot of ultras, but he only runs 3 days a week. And that's like his thing is like, it's hard on your body. And dealing with this injury, I had been trying to run like 5 or 6 days a week. And so he really helped me realize like, okay, you can do this. He helped me make a schedule. And I was like, I know I'm not going to be able to get, 40-mile weeks. And that might mean that I'm not going to be as fast or as trained. But I did it, and I did it without pain. And I still had fun doing it. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like to your point, I would love to be the runner that's out there every day. But right now, 3 days a week with dealing with an injury in my life is what works and makes it still fun.
Yeah.
And so, that's another thing with like the imposter syndrome. Like I see people on Strava like every day, and I'm like, oh shoot, like, I'm not a real runner because I wasn't out there today.
Right. I know. It's so hard. And I've actually talked to people who have deleted Strava for that reason. They're like, it's
the
just
pressure.
It's just not healthy for me to compare myself to all these people. And I don't want people to be able to see my times and then think something about it. And it's just, for me, I just have gotten to a place where I don't care.
Yeah. I love it because it's empowering and it's inspiring and it's fun. Like people giving you kudos and, I love it. But yes, there is that pressure. But it's only the self-imposed judgment.
Exactly.
And that's what I tell my friends. I'm like, the running community is so welcoming, so encouraging. And they're like, I don't want to run and someone's going to see me struggle. And I'm like, none of the runners are judging you. Someone sitting in their car who's not running might judge you, but everyone is so supportive, and we've all fallen apart on a run. And so I don't know. It's just such a great community. And, being part of a running club and meeting people through races, it's like this whole new world that I didn't know about. So
you just made me think about a book I'm listening to. Are you into Mel Robbins at all?
I've read some Mel Robbins, but yeah.
I'm listening to the Let Them theory.
That's on my to read.
Yeah. Highly recommend.
It's like I'm a big library fan. I think I'm like 50th in line to get it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, it was funny. I mentioned Becky, my running partner on Fridays. We were like running and I was talking. She's like, "How are you doing with this weekend leading up to the mini, all the things?" And I was like, the birthday party decorations. I was like, I'm just gonna do minimal. I don't care.
Does your kid care? They're just excited it's their birthday.
And it's like if there's a parent that's like, oh, like she didn't do this. Okay. So like let them think that. It's just the amount of effort I think that it takes to make a Pinterest-worthy, Instagram-worthy party. It's just, and it's all just kind of like for what? Yeah. So I realized, my 4-year-old's going to freaking love this.
Yeah.
She had a pink pony club party. It was amazing.
Oh
and
gosh.
She wanted a Beauty and the Beast cake. So guess what? We had a pink pony club party and we had
a bell cake. It didn't even have to be a thing.
It just doesn't even matter.
I know. That is so true. For years in my 20s, I was like the hostess. Like I would have these parties and I would go all out and I had all the special like entertaining, servingware and themes and things to do. And, I would hire a professional photographer to come to the party.
Don't get me wrong. That's freaking amazing, Stephanie.
No, but like then I had kids and I got a new job and I got into running and I got into reading books. And it was like, now I'm like, here are my paper plates and everyone's still, I have a better time, honestly.
Yeah.
And the kid doesn't care. And so, yes, like the Let Them theory. I mean, I know enough about it.
Right. If you've listened to our podcast or read some of our other stuff, you kind of get the idea.
Yeah. But applying that to running, like, And I think we're the ones that put those fears and judgments on ourselves. Like no one cares. And then my other friends who aren't even running, like they can't even believe I'm running a marathon or half. They don't know. Yeah. They don't know anything about like my pace or comparing me. They're like, I can't believe you went out and did that.
Yeah.
And so
after doing the Carmel Expo, I made a jar for my mini marathon booth that said just the 5K. Put $1 in the jar. Yeah. And it didn't work as well at the mini because a lot of people are running the half marathon. But at Carmel, everybody kept saying, oh, I'm just doing the 5K or I'm just doing the 10K or I'm just doing the half. And it's like, okay, you need to put $1 in this jar.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. I actually had a couple people put $1 in the jar.
That's so funny.
But it was the concept of like, it's not just anything.
Sure.
You're out there, you're doing it. No matter what, people are going to judge you.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Well, and honestly, like maybe that's your competitive distance. Like maybe you're going to smash that 5K. And just because you're only running a short distance doesn't mean you're doing any less effort.
Absolutely not.
Like I still do plenty of 5Ks, especially like for holidays or fun things.
Or like Run 317, like you mentioned.
Run 317, but it is not my distance because I don't like to run fast.
I think it's harder than a marathon.
You feel like you have to. You don't run along enough to get that high. And so, like that runner's high. And so, I do not like the 5Ks. And I think that a lot of times they're harder.
I couldn't agree more.
Way more tired. I feel like I'm going to puke at the end of a 5K. Yes. And so, the fact that people are like, I've only done 5Ks. I'm like, you might feel better, actually, if you did a 10K. But, I mean, they're fun, though, and they are a great way to get your friends. That's how I've gotten all my friends to actually run with me is to get them to sign up for a 5K.
Yeah.
So, yes, love 317. I love the Thanksgiving Day races. I think those are so fun. Wawasee. We got to talk about Wawasee races because you have done that 4th of July race.
Yes, I've done it. I can't remember how many times total I've done that race.
And you like placed like first year age group?
In my age group because it's a small race. It's
and you got like this awesome prize.
Yeah, I love talking about that. So I got like a blow up, an inflatable pirate's booty boat.
That is amazing.
That my kids were like obsessed with.
Yes.
This last year I got a lantern. I mean, just random stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
But that's honestly better than
the best. I mean, I do love a trophy, okay? Don't get me wrong. Or like an extra medal or whatever.
So fun.
But it's really fun because I'm always curious to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I love that race. I love running up there. I've spent many summers training for the Chicago Marathon up at Wawasee.
So I grew up, my parents built a house on Wawasee when I was 5. And so I've been going every summer now for 30 plus years.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom was a teacher, so she had the summers off, so we would almost like live up there.
Yeah.
But since I've gotten into running, it is like my favorite place to run. Like when I get to do that Syracuse Wawasee loop and go around the lake, and it's hot, like especially like there's like the wetlands, there's no shade.
Yeah.
But I've never done that race because usually I am either like, oh, I need to do this many miles, and, you know, I don't want to do just a 5K or, no, I said it. A 5K. But I really think it would be super fun to do. And
it's
so
a blast.
maybe this year, because they have like an 8 mile.
Yeah, what is it? It's, I think, a 4 mile and an 8 mile.
A 4 mile, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's like a really, like,
it's
one year I was like, how do I register? And it was like, send a check to this man's
I know,
house.
it's like hilarious. I know.
I know. I was like, is this legitimate?
They finally, now it's been upgraded where it's like run by an actual.
Like they have a run sign up.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so, I love, like, we were talking about this, running in new places. Like for years before I got into running, I was like, oh, on vacation, I don't have to work out. Like that's the exciting thing is, you know, you just get to rest. And now it's like, I get to run more because I'm on vacation, and I get to run in these amazing places.
Right.
And I love like mapping out where I'm going to run. And and I just had a friend who traveled, and she's like, I didn't run because I was on vacation. And I was like, no, you get to run.
I know. Vacation runs are the best.
They're so fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have friends that will run with you on vacation, too.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, we do a Mexico trip every other year with a big group of people.
That's fun.
And my friend Ashley, who I pushed with
at
the Mini, her and I will always be the two that'll run. My friend Alyssa will do it. Like there's a few others that'll like work out on vacation, but it's like I need that to like run off steam to like keep it sounds weird, but like to keep my energy up. Like I need to do that. Yeah. And it's so fun, like you said, being able to explore somewhere.
Yeah. It's like a whole new view of the place that you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's your favorite place you've run? Or like give us some examples.
So when I first got into running for that Thanksgiving race, my husband and I did a Just Us trip to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. And that's on my list.
It was amazing. We've been to Maui and Oahu, and we did Kauai. And it's like Jurassic Park. That's where they filmed Jurassic Park. So it's just amazing. So we were staying at a resort that had like this like golf course, and it had this trail through on the coast. And so that's how he kind of like convinced me to get into running, because he's like, you can stay here in the room or you can come on a run with me. And just that was my excuse to take in the scenery. So we go to Florida every summer, and it is so hot because
I was going to say every summer. Where do you go in Florida?
We go to Indian Shores.
Okay.
So it's kind of by Tampa on the Gulf side, but we go at the end of July. We go right before back to school, and so the humidity is crazy. But
that's insane.
I also forcing myself to run, and that was like the best for marathon training. Like
that's
fall
true.
Races. That is why I love a fall race, because you train in the heat, and then you run, and it's chilly.
Ideally, it's cool.
Yeah, and so even though it sucks, like I'd start my morning, and we couldn't run together because we had the kids.
Right.
We didn't have the stroller, but there was like this like Parisian bakery randomly by our
sign me up for that
resort. So on the way back, I'd get my coffee and my Parisian sweets, and you just see everyone out doing their morning walks and the waves coming in. Now the beach, I'm not running on the beach.
No, I don't do that.
Really. Josh will do that, and I'm like,
I need my calves not to be like torn apart.
Yeah.
Like if you run on the beach in softer sand, like I'll run on the beach if it's that like really hard, flat, packed sand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That I can do, but not like in the
I'll do
sand.
A few miles, but
I'd rather walk on the beach.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
and that's the other thing. Walking is like cross training. Like I always used to be like, I can't walk, I have to run. And now I work right off the Nickel Plate Trail. And so if I can't run over lunch, I walk. And that's been amazing, just to like keep my steps up, and for race recovery, like being sore, like walking. And so walking as like training is something that's kind of new to me, but I'm really enjoying it.
I've seen so many people now with weighted vests. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's like a thing. I think TikTok started that.
Yes.
My sister does it.
We do have a weighted vest. I have not walked far in it. It seems very heavy.
It's terrifying.
But it's like, I mean, so good for you. Yeah.
My sister says that it feels so good when you take it off.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a guy at the Indy Mini finish line that had a weighted vest on. And I said, how many pounds is that? And he was like, I think it was like 20 or 30 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, good job, man.
Did you see a woman at the Indy Mini who ran with her kid on her back the whole time? So Josh saw her at the finish line, and he was like, I don't think she had her kid on her back the whole time. Like, maybe it was the last mile.
Yeah.
And then we were watching the coverage because the next day we always watch, like, THR post
Oh,
their,
that's
like,
fun.
4
Yeah,
hours
yeah.
of race coverage.
Yeah.
And we try to find ourselves. And you saw her on the track just running along, and her baby's just, boop. And I was like, is that okay for the kid? But also, like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, right? Like, is the kid going to get, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But you see those people, like, holding the flags and the people that run, like.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Idledrive for that.
Love Jay. Yes, like. And then I think of myself and I'm like, wow, I need to be doing more.
No.
You know?
See, that is the thing. You always compare yourself to others, and it's like.
But it is amazing to see.
It's
Is a guy
cool.
who ran in the race helmet with the tidy whities.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
see him?
I feel like I saw that guy, and he said he does that a lot or something.
I was like, gosh. Or
I don't
even the
know.
costumes. Have you ever done a costume? I've never done
I don't
the
think
costume.
I've ever worn a costume.
Yeah, like the people that do those, like, wow, because some of those look hot.
Yeah, well, like Timmy Howard. Do you know
Yes.
Timmy? Timmy's dressed as Mario, like
Yeah.
an inflatable costume. He's got like
I saw
4
him,
cameras,
yeah.
and you're
I
like,
saw,
Timmy.
Yeah. I saw him off to the side at the Mini.
Yeah. So I've
Yeah.
never done a racing costume. That needs to be on my list to do something. Like I haven't done a Disney race. I'm always intrigued by that, but I'm also very intimidated by the registration process and like all the things. But I'm sure I will at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the fun races versus the serious races too. Because I don't know. I think Disney could be fun. It's not like my bucket list race, but that's the one where you can like ride rides too, right?
Totally. Take
like
pictures.
You can just stop and
with
ride.
characters.
I would get so distracted.
I would find that very hard as like a very uptight road runner. I like stopping.
Yes.
You know, like I said, I'd never stopped at a porta potty, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like it's like
it throws you.
Yeah.
Well, bro, so my physical therapist, he does trails. And so he's like, you should get into trail running if you love slow, long runs.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing I'm kind of interested in. But it's like, then you have to find the trail locally.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those I know you have to travel for. But trail running, I think I could maybe get into that because, you know, it's a little slower, a little easier on your body, but I just don't want to like wipe out. Like,
well, I think that's probably like a rite of passage. I have dabbled in trail running. I even own a pair of trail shoes now.
Okay, yes.
Because I went to an event and Athletic Annex was offering like 20% off or something. And I was like, okay, just give me some trail shoes. You know, for the one trail race that I've done, which is the Holiday Park Trail Run.
Okay, fine.
Which is amazing. Highly recommend. It's a great way to like dabble in trails because it's not crazy, but it's challenging.
What month is that?
March.
Oh, that's a good month.
Yeah. It's like a perfect time to, as people are itching to like run, do a race.
Yes.
It's like the perfect time of year for that. And then I've gone over to Eagle Creek before, which is just beautiful.
That's a big place to go. Or Fort Bend. People go over
which
there.
I love. Yeah, I love Fort Bend.
Yeah.
But yeah, trail running I think you would enjoy for the reasons you mentioned. You like running.
Yeah, and Chain of Lakes up by Wawasee has that. They have like 100-mile race, but then they might have a 50K, and it's in October. And Josh and I went to Chain of Lakes, and we were just at Wawasee one weekend and like hiked.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this could be fun for like trail running. It's just a whole different experience.
It really is.
And that's the thing. Even just thinking of like these longer runs, like learning more about nutrition, learning more about forcing myself to like take walking breaks and drink more water. It's just been like, when you're running short races, like I used to never do gels. I used to never drink. My thing was like, I don't have to ever get water. My first half, I refused to stop for water. And I was like, this was stupid.
Yeah.
And so, now I took a nutrition for runners course.
Oh, you did?
Recently.
Where?
It's through Sports Performance, Ascension Sports Performance at Clay Terrace. So
cool.
That's where I go for physical therapy.
Okay.
And they're
That's right by DSW?
Yes, right by DSW. So the woman, she's like a trainer. She works with like the Bengals and different sports teams.
Okay.
And so she's a runner. And so it was like a 6-week course, and it was all about nutrition for your races. And it was so interesting.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Did
but
you
it was
go
all
in
virtual.
person? Okay.
So it was over lunch.
Okay.
It was actually 12 weeks, but it was every other week. So
and was it virtual? Was it live? Like you join at noon? Okay.
Zoom. And so it was a small group. So it was very like interactive and very personalized.
Mm-hmm.
That is when I was starting to deal with knee issues. So they gave me like supplement recommendations and kind of helped me through that, and anti-inflammatory food recommendations. But like learning like really the calculations, so much math of like what you really should have. I mean, it was overwhelming, but it was very eye-opening because I was like, wow, I'm doing everything wrong. And how much of a difference could this make if I actually followed?
Right.
you know. And I mean, sometimes it's the amount of carbs. It was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to consume this many carbs 4 hours before my race. But just knowing that, like, okay, maybe my one little, like, protein bar isn't the right answer.
Right. Yeah.
And I never used to eat after races. Like, I would wait a while, and they were big on, like, you need to have this much protein and this many carbs 30 minutes from finishing.
I probably don't do that very
But,
well.
like, I started doing that, and I was like, oh, I feel so much better, and
Right.
I recover better.
Right.
And I started, like, the tart cherry juice after long runs, and
Okay,
that's been great.
Yeah.
So that was a side of running that I just did not think about. But especially as you train for those longer distances, it becomes like more important.
Right.
And so I highly recommend the class. I think they do it every year or two. And there was a discount for like running clubs. And
That's cool. Yeah.
it was awesome that it was small because we could all talk and like we were sharing tips for like the best belt to carry your gels on.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
So,
That's really fun.
yeah.
I didn't even know that existed. I mean, we've got some great like nutrition. What do you call that? Dietitian.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
like working with people like that, which I've had small introductions to enough to know, oh, wow, yeah, I haven't been doing this right.
I know.
Like the idea that carb loading is more than just eating spaghetti the night before
For
the
sure.
race. Like
For sure.
you're going to never want to eat a bagel ever again by the time you eat enough carbs.
I know. And yeah, like they talked about like the night before, they're like, don't get spaghetti and like meatballs. Like, don't have the meat. Like, don't waste time on protein.
Right. And you're like, I thought I needed both.
I was having, like, when I first started running, I was having a Cliff Bar before every race. And now I'm like, okay, well, that's maybe not what I should be doing. And so my friends were making fun of me before the mini, and Josh, too, because I was like, I'm going to have my pretzels, and then I'm going to have my bagel, and then I need to have the apple juice because that has carbs.
Right.
And he's like, you need to calm down. I was like, no.
This is what makes me feel
good.
good.
Yeah, it was very, and just the different supplements, like, that you can get on. Like, I started glucosamine for my knee, and I've been on it for probably 2 months, and it's already, I can tell it's making a difference. And like, so just learning about that has been, and water, you do like a sweat test in the class, and so then you learn about like how much water specifically to you should be drinking, which I was severely underhydrating.
Oh yeah, I did a sweat test with, they sell like Gatorade patches you can wear.
Those are supposed to be like really accurate too.
Yeah, I feel like it came in a pack of 2. I want to do it again to see, but it's kind of fun to see. I do sweat a lot, so I need a lot of water.
And it's so hard in the summer to figure out, like, when you're doing these long runs.
Well, where am I going to put my water?
Like at Wawasee, it's like, okay, like, I know there's a water fountain here, but, like, I have a friend, he goes and he drops water bottles.
Right, you can do that. Yeah.
But especially if you don't want to just be doing loops or, like, an out and back.
Yeah,
and then the bathrooms, it's like, okay, where, like, the Monon's great, or the Nickel Plate Trail, because there's the restrooms. But, yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Have you used a running coach before? This episode is brought to you by Previnex, clinically effective supplements that promote longevity, performance, and everyday health. As you heard at the start of this episode, Previnex was a sponsor of our Indy Mini event. Their CEO and founder, David Block, was there in person. Thank you so much, David. So as Stephanie was just talking about using supplements and adding those into her nutrition routine for running, is a perfect opportunity to tell you about Previnex. So I personally use their Gut and Greens superfood powder and then several other supplements every single day. I also have been on a smoothie kick with my 7-year-old with their Neurify Protein Plus powder. We like the vanilla. Every purchase you make, they send a bottle of their Super Vites, which is vitamins for kids, to at-risk children around the world to give them nutrition and hope. It's just such an incredible mission and company and person to support. So if you would like to try Previnex, you can use code ALLY, ALLY 15 for 15% off your first order. That's Previnex, PREVINEX. You can go to Previnex.com and use ALLY, ALLY 15 for 15% off your first order. Thank you, Previnex, for supporting this podcast. Have you used a running coach before?
So I have. A few years ago, I used Soulmates Coaching with Sarah and Tracy. They're awesome. I met them through Running Club. But that was actually when I started to have my hip issues. So they were helping me train for my first marathon. And about 2 months out, we realized I probably wasn't going to be in a good spot to do it. And so that's when I actually started seeing a PT and decided to drop down to the half. And they were great. They really got me the confidence and like the framework of what marathon training could look like. But then I really spent the next year rehabbing my hip. And so it was an 18-month journey from when I first started marathon training to when I ran.
Wow.
And I really used my PT as like an informal running coach because he's a runner. He's done a lot of distances and he knew the issues I was having. And he was like, I want you only running 3 days a week. And here's the mileage I want you to do. But I took a really long time to build up. It was like a 24-week, plan or something. And so it worked for me. And then that's when I also realized I was like, okay, I don't have to run 6 days a week and, get these crazy high mileage.
Right.
So, yeah, I would love to use a coach again. I think especially when I kind of figure out my next goal. But this marathon cycle, I think I'll just kind of do what worked and try to do a little more speed work and try to cut off my time a little, but going gentle on your body.
Right.
Because now I'm dealing with knee issues. And that's the other thing. It's like it feels like there's always something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
So were you supposed to run the Monumental in 23 then?
In 23,
yeah. Okay.
So I had signed up. I started training with them in May for the November race, and we did the plan exactly until about September. And so then I dropped the half, and I've done that half before. I love that half, but it was super disappointing, especially when you're like telling people, you're like, I'm training for a marathon.
Right. And it's my first one.
It's my first one. But that made doing it in 2024 like so much sweeter because I also felt like it was something I'd worked towards for so long.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good thing because I had my hip under control and I would have been in so much pain. My last long training run before I decided to drop down in 23, I was like on the side of the road crying because I couldn't even walk and Josh had to come get me.
Yep.
And then I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, it's not worth it. And that's when they were like, you really need to go see someone. And then I went, and Louis Langley is my PT, love Louis, met him through running. But he was like, immediately, he took a video of me running. He's like, yeah, I can see like your gait's off, you're hurting your hip. So we do dry needling. I still go and do dry needling I was doing it weekly. Now I do it every other for 18 months. It has made such a difference though. And then strength, like he's helped me become so much stronger on that side. But I know I hate needles. I don't know, something about it. It just makes a difference. And you don't really see it because it's like, over on your hip and back.
I did that while I was pregnant. I was having some nerve issues.
Yeah.
And it didn't fix the problem I was having.
Yeah.
So that was just a whole nother thing. But yeah, I don't like needles, but I could endure it. I was like, if this is going to make it better, I'm willing to try it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I feel like I've discovered about running is you're probably always going to have something that's bothering you. Even if even if it's like blisters on your feet. And so understanding that there's always going to be something, but how you can work through it.
Right.
And you just don't want to like actually like really mess yourself up. Yeah.
Funny story. So 2 funny stories. One, I dropped a drill battery on my toe the day before or 2 days before, as I was like getting all my stuff together for the expo.
This year for the mini?
Yeah, I dropped
oh my gosh.
It was pretty big, like a size of I don't know, not a brick, but it felt like a brick. You drop something on your foot, it hurts.
Yeah.
So I dropped it right on my big toe. I was so mad. And then it hurt for days.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, did I break my toe?
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's fine because I did something else that made me forget about my toe. So in the morning of the race, what the chirp is, like the brand it's not a foam roller, but it looks like a wheel, essentially.
Oh, okay, yes.
And they're flat. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my back is so tight from being on my feet for like 3 days straight and like lifting stuff, whatever. So I'm like on this thing, rolling my back. It feels great.
Oh no.
And then I go to reach for my phone, which was like next to me on the bed, and I lean over and it flips to its side and I slam my back down on top of like the edges of it. You should see the bruise on my ass.
Gosh.
It is awful, but it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I was so pissed at myself. And I just was like, well, what am I going to do?
And it's so mental too, right? Are you going to dwell on it?
Yeah.
I know.
But it made me forget about my toe. So there was that.
There is always something.
Always
though.
something.
Yeah.
Always
something. And I feel like, I'm lucky that I haven't had to have surgery or, but I used to think like, oh, if something hurts when I run, like, I'm doing it wrong. It's like, no, like your body's going to hurt. You're running.
Yeah. Especially when you're marathon training.
Yeah.
Like at some point you realize as you do it more and more, like what you're training for is how to endure the hurt. That's the whole thing is how do you learn how to sit in discomfort? Like that's what you got to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, and after Butler, actually, last year I did the 8-hour, and I remember the next day I was like, I'm not going to be able to walk, like, and then I was like, I'm not going to be able to go to work. But then learning to recover, too, is like, I used to never, like, foam roll. Like, I didn't own a foam roller or stretch, and so kind of knowing what to do. But after that race, I felt like I had the flu. Like, I thought it was like, this is bad. But my coworkers are used now to me coming in on like a Monday.
Like hobbling. Yeah. They're like, oh,
stiff.
How long did you run this weekend?
Yeah.
The 8-hour, tell people what that is.
Oh
who
my
might
gosh.
not know.
So that's at Butler, and it is essentially 8-hour endurance race. So you run a loop for as many miles as you can get in an 8-hour period. They have a 2 and a 3 mile loop, so you can kind of alternate or pick. But it is, I'm not familiar with Butler really, but it's like right where the athletic center is. So there's like indoor restrooms and showers and air conditioning. And then it's like a tent village, which is really fun. So everyone brings their tents, food, fans, hammocks. People like go to sleep in between. And you run this loop around the campus. Some of it is on trails, which I did not know when I went into it. You're literally in the woods. And at the end of every loop, you have to go up a hill in the woods. That's fun. Have you done the race?
No, I spectated for a little bit last year, though.
Okay, yeah, there's a hill. But that race, that is honestly, as much as I love the marathon, that race, like, changed everything for me. I went into that. I was in the middle of marathon training, and I was due for a 16-miler. And I had never run more than 15 miles. And so I was like, I'll do this race because, of course, my husband wanted to do it. It's in July. It's so hot. But I was like, you do your thing. I'll do my 16 and I'll just hang out. And then I got into this zone and like, I don't even remember I don't even remember half there. I was just so focused and I was just like round and round and ended up doing over a marathon.
Wow,
so
Stephanie.
I think it was at like 28 miles or something. And I don't even know how I did it. And the fact I had never run more than half that. And that's like, what happens is like, I think because I approached that race with no pressure, no expectations, like literally I didn't like overstress about the route. I didn't even know really what it was going to be like. And the camaraderie of that race, because you're on the same loop, usually I never see Josh in a race. He's like way ahead of me. And this way, like, all the people I knew through running club, Louie, my PT, was out there. And, like, you would, like, on the loop, you'd see someone, you'd run with them. Everyone's struggling by, 6-7 hours. Everyone's so hot. And just the support that's out there and, like, how you get to just kind of all be together was my favorite thing. So immediately, as soon as I opened registration, I signed up again. And now that I know, I'm like, I hope I don't hate it this year because Josh did not like it. And he was like, I can't believe you loved that race so much. And I'm like, it's just because I was so just in the zone and I just didn't have any pressure on myself. And so I'd love to do a 50K at Butler this year. Training wise, I'm not going to be there, but I wasn't there last year.
Right.
So
yeah.
We'll see.
That's really cool. So I want to ask you more about your life outside of running too, because you have a really cool job. You get to work for the city where you live.
Yes.
So you're born and raised in Cincinnati, or
no, Fishers.
You were born and raised in Fishers.
Yes.
But you lived in Cincinnati
after college.
After college.
Yeah,
okay.
My first job after college, I was out there for a few years.
Okay. So you're originally from here.
Yes, I am.
Where did you go to undergrad?
I went to Purdue.
Okay.
And that's where I met Josh.
Okay.
But we both actually went to the same kindergarten through high school in Fishers and never met.
Oh, so you have the photos?
So he was a year younger.
Okay.
Ooh, very, very
scandalous.
Controversial. I know. And HSE is like a huge school system. So we had kind of people who knew each other, mutual friends, but never hung out. We're very different cliques. But found out after we met at Purdue, we met through a friend from high school. And then it made dating great because we come back, we had the same hometown. And then both of our parents actually were Carmel High School sweethearts and moved to Fishers from Carmel. And so our parents' families kind of knew each other. We found out. So it's like this crazy small
That's like
world.
the dream.
It's funny. And like they grew up, like literally his uncle and my dad were friends in high school. And so they had like stories about each other. It was really weird how all came together.
Yeah.
But yeah, born and raised in Fishers, went to HSE, went to Purdue, and then was in Cincy and then made my way back, lived in Carmel for a while off Main Street.
Wow.
And then went back to Fishers. And I love working for not only my hometown, but where I'm raising my kids.
Yeah, that's
all
really
these
cool.
years later.
Helping like make it a better place for your family.
Yeah. And yeah, it makes your job so like everything I do impacts those around me and my life, but it's changed so much. I mean, I was born in 87 and Fishers was like so new. And my parents moved there because they were like, Carmel's getting too crowded. And they moved off Allisonville Road and it was like completely country. And I graduated before Fishers High School was built. So I went to HSE. And yeah, now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool place with Fishers District and the Event Center and Topgolf and just everything we have is.
And a Shake Shack.
A Shake Shack.
I mean, every time I go over there, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never been to the IKEA. I've never been to an IKEA in my life.
You have to
I know.
go.
That's what people say, but I'm like, I feel like I need to be mentally prepared and have a plan.
But it can just be like a walking workout. It's so big. And just walk.
Okay. Sounds like it's going to cost me a lot of money, though, based on what
Everything's cheap. It just adds up when you buy a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but every time I go over to Fishers, there's something new. It's so incredible.
Yeah.
What
I
all has
love
happened
it.
there.
And just like working with the other Hamilton County, like the other cities and municipalities is so cool, and what we've been able to do in central Indiana.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So what did you study in college, and what was your first job out of school, and what was your path to working for the city?
Yeah, so communications was my major.
Okay.
I didn't really know when I was going into college what I wanted to do, but I've always loved talking to people. I've loved writing, loved being creative. So I was like, I'll just sign up for this major. This sounds fun. For a while, I thought it would be like in TV, like a journalist, either a journalist or an anchor.
Cool.
So I did some mass media, but then I really loved the PR, like strategy side of marketing. And I graduated, and I always have loved museums. Art history was my minor. And family friend was working in Cincinnati at Cincinnati Museum Center, and I didn't have a job.
Oh.
And he was like, hey, we have a marketing position open. It made like very little money, but I was like, great. I didn't know. I'd never been to Cincinnati. The only time I went was to interview, and then I got this job. I didn't know anyone. Like I said, I've always been kind of independent. It was like my cool, like, I'm on my own.
Right, totally. Where was Josh, though, at this point?
He was still at Purdue because he was a year younger.
Oh, so
he just came and visited me. We did a long distance thing. But I loved it. It was like grad school. Like, I was just thrown in there, and I had to find organizations and ways to make friends, like young professional groups. And but it was fun. He would come, we'd explore the city, and then we got engaged, and he was trying to find a job, couldn't really find anything out there, got a job here, and I was like, I want to come back to Indiana. So I came back to work at a PR agency downtown.
Okay, which one?
Bolson Group.
Okay.
And had all sorts of clients in all different industries. Then went to the art museum, which is now Newfields.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Which was one of my dream jobs because I studied art history.
Right.
And I was there about 4 or 5 years. I was there when we like launched Winter Lights in the beer garden and really made that shift to make it like more cool.
Yeah, great work.
And fun.
Yeah.
And then I'd always thought it'd be really fun to work for the city. I'd done the museum thing. I'd actually applied in the past and didn't hear anything. And I saw that an assistant director job was open and knew someone who knew someone. And so I was like, can you like pass my resume? And hit it off with Ashley, who's the director still. We still work together. Our team's really stayed solid. And I've been there 7 years this month. And I mean, it's perfect. It's 5 minutes from home.
Oh, that's the dream.
You know, Newfields, part of the reason I left was I had just had my son. The commute was a lot. I was working a lot of nights and weekends.
Right, because of the events side of things.
Yeah, and we still have that at the city, but it is so family friendly. You know, the mayor has young kids, a lot of the leadership team. So it's very flexible.
Yeah.
And living right by there, I'm going to the farmers market with my kids. Like, I'm going to the events that we're hosting, so it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's like literally been the best job, especially for this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Really quick side note.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to come back. We got to talk about the Geist.
Yes, got to talk about Geist.
But how was it running through Newfields for the marathon? Because our course goes through Newfields.
So I have to tell you, I thought that I was going to run through the gardens. Like, for some reason, I thought that, I don't know if it used to go through the gardens.
I don't know.
But it just went through the parking lot. So I was a little thrown off. Josh was like, swore he ran through the gardens. So I don't know what happened.
I ran through, it was like still decorated for Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. They changed it or something last year because I was like, oh, I'm going to run by the Lily House. It's going to be so pretty. We ran in a parking lot, ran in one entrance and out the other.
That's right. You know, because I did it. I was like, wait, where was I? I was there.
Yeah,
I did it.
Yeah.
Such a blur.
The other thing that cracked me up about Newfields is being a slower runner. People ran out of food and water. And I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And one of my naive first marathon, I was like, I don't need to like bring as much nutrition because I hear there's bananas and there's pretzels.
Yeah, to be fair, there should be.
Well,
yeah.
I got there because Newfields is supposed to be, there was like a food stop and we were out.
Yeah.
And so that
sucks.
threw me. So it was a little not a great experience because of that.
Yeah.
But it was so cool just because going there for years.
Right.
And I still love the institution and everything they've done. And I love to go back and go to, you know, the Christmas programs or different things. Or not my kid's like on the kick. He wants to go to an art museum. So I'm going to take him there because he wants to be an artist. So.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
Yeah, mine too, depending on the day.
Yeah, I know. They change careers every day.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so back to Fishers and Geist, though. So
yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, I should have looked at my spreadsheet before this. The first year that I did Geist. It wasn't the inaugural year. I don't think it was the inaugural year that I did it. But I did it when it was in May.
Yeah,
in mid-May.
in May, which it was until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I can't believe it's been 3 years. It's been in September
I know.
now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that race is owned by the city of Fishers.
3 years ago. So, yeah, we took it over, what would that have been, 22, 23? And it was run by a group of volunteers, really passionate Geist residents who did it for a long time and were busy and had other jobs.
Yeah.
And so essentially the city talked to them like, this is an iconic tradition. We want to keep it alive. We have the resources. And so we took it over, and I told my boss immediately. I was like, I have to work on this project. I love running. This is like melding of two things I love.
Yeah.
And so it has been so cool as a runner to be on the other side, not just for race day. It's not like you're just volunteering, like doing the whole process for a year and then doing it. This is our 3rd year that I'll do it. And I am in charge of all the marketing. So my job is really fun because I get to think of the people I know who love to run and myself and what would get us interested and have a voice at the table and a spot at the table. And I mean, we're planning from essentially October through September. Right. So it's really fun. And, you know, on race day, there's always a little bit of like, oh, like I wish, you know, I'm standing there like with a radio watching my friends run by and it's like, it would be really fun to run. But it's so cool to be on the other side and to help keep this tradition alive. Yeah. And I get to work with so many great runners and running groups. We have a great ambassador team. A lot of the people I mentioned, Sarah and Tracy, are our ambassadors. And I get to go to running events and work with Athletic Annex and like, you know, be on kind of that business side of things.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I joined the board for Beyond Monumental. The organization behind
that's so cool.
Yeah, and so I've been on our board since 21, so 4 years now. And it's so interesting to be on the other side. You have such a deep appreciation for volunteers and race organizers after you get a peek as to what it takes.
Gosh. For sure. The volunteers, I mean, I think we have like 350 volunteers for race day, and that doesn't even count, you know, people getting ready at the expo. Yeah. And we literally could not do it without them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, and the fact that, you know, I always think that would be fun. I'm like, I should like volunteer for a race instead of run, just to be the one like passing out the water or cheering people on.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to still be in the mix of what's going on. And it was hard for me, like I mentioned, Carmel deciding not to run. I knew I was going to have FOMO. Yeah. And then, of course, you know, I guess silver lining for me was that I got to do it virtually. Yeah. But it's just, I highly recommend, and I can't say it enough, I've said it on this podcast before, that people should volunteer so they understand.
For sure.
I've only done a water station at our kids' race, and it was at the finish line. And I was like, this is so hard. The idea of thinking about like a major marathon like Chicago or, you know, even Monumental at the marathon. Like I did it for this tiny kids race, which, you know, we had almost a couple thousand kids. It's not super small, but still it's like a sport in and of itself.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking that the Mini is like how they stacked all the cups, and we're coming by so fast. And they're like, here you go. Yeah. And then they're trying to sweep them all up. And
then I like totally splat. I mean, you just get soaked as a volunteer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like,
It is odd, but they're so enthusiastic, and just the people that keep you going. So much respect for them. And the Gold Mile volunteers who stand out there. The Gold Mile gets me every time.
Every time. It's so special.
Every time. But yeah, those volunteers who stand out there, the whole time, and the people like Jay who carry the flags.
Yeah. For people who don't know what the Gold Mile is, tell people what it is.
Yeah, so it is a mile that remembers those who have died in the armed services. So they have pictures of their rank and their age and their name, and then the family members will be out there usually remembering their loved ones, and it's really special. It's on the track.
Yeah.
So it's like the first thing you see when you go on the track. And we started a Gold Mile in Geist. I would love it to get to that point where we have the pictures. So we don't have the pictures there, but we do have the bibs where you can run in honor of someone.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then we have an Armed Services Commission that goes out there and does water and has the flags. But yeah, it's a really special experience every year to go out there.
Does your husband Josh run then?
Run the Geist.
The Geist, yeah.
Yeah. So he has not, because he has had to watch the kids.
Oh, right.
Because it's a very long day for me, but he always really wants to. So maybe this year we'll see if we're lucky both of our parents.
I was going to say, where are your parents at?
I know. They do a lot of race babysitting.
I bet. Yeah, mine do too.
Yeah, a lot of race babysitting. And so his parents actually live right off Geist. So they're actually blocked in during the race. But it would be fun. He will run any race he can get. So
yeah. I really love Geist. People, I would say, might shy away from it because of the hills. And I would just argue that, it's got some hills. But like, you got to mix it up.
It's got some amazing views. Like,
it's so pretty.
Being out there, the sun's rising over the water. The first, star is over that bridge as the sun's coming up. And yes, it is hilly. And that's something that... So the first year we really leaned into the hills and marketing, and people got really scared.
Yeah.
Especially at the expo. Like, we were at the mini expo and we had like an elevation chart like on display, and people are like, oh. And so last year we really didn't talk about the hills. And then people were like, I didn't know. They came through the finish line. They were like, oh my gosh. And so this year we've kind of balanced it, and we kind of have a different marketing strategy for the half versus the 10 and 5K. The 5K is family friendly, stroller friendly. It's not as hilly. It's, really, it's fun. It's a great first race. And so we kind of take that perspective. And then with the half marathon, especially in our regional marketing, we're like, this is really challenging. It's hilly, but it's this amazing waterfront race, and it's a great way to challenge yourself.
Right.
And runners really respond to that. So it's been fun. This is the first year we've really done a larger regional marketing strategy.
Okay.
Because Geist has kind of grown to a point where locally, if you're a runner,
you
probably know about Geist.
For sure.
And so how do we continue to grow this race beyond, Hamilton County? And it's not, it's not just about traveling for the race, but all the things there are to do here. Like, you can travel to Fishers and go to an awesome concert at the event center, or, a fuel game. And so kind of trying to sell the whole experience.
Right.
But yeah, we do have a good amount of out-of-towners, but nowhere near, what a mini would be, which we're never going to be that. I have dreams that we could have a marathon.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool.
That would be cool.
And especially with the Nickel Plate Trail now expanding into Indianapolis.
I've heard. I don't know. I need to look at a map of that expansion.
Well, so the Fishers portion is 146 to 96.
Yeah.
And then Indy has pretty much finished their portion, but we are constructing a bridge right now over 96. So now, if you need to cross, you have to kind of cross 96 on your own, and then you can be on the Indy portion. Got it. Which goes all the way down to connect to the Monon. Yeah. But once we have the bridge, and then Noblesville has a portion that goes up to Midland Trace, I have this dream that we could have this huge race. It's like a 40-miler. Right. I mean, totally. Around that goes through the whole metro. And, they have the full mow over on the Monon. So it's what about a full NPT or something? Right. I think that'd be, because Nickel Plate Trail is my go-to running spot. I love it.
I know. I feel like Fishers to me is Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's never not construction. Yeah. So I just don't go over there as much. you know.
There's a lot of construction, but it's really just in the time I've been there, come a long way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trail, we have a Geist Greenway trail now out on the east side. So just having more trail connectivity and then connecting to other communities. Like we have a trail over in our Heritage Park that's going to connect to Hazel Landing Park in Carmel with a bridge over the White River.
That's
so
cool.
Just all of the connectivity with the different cities.
Yeah.
And that's fun. That's a fun part of my job is being collaborative with the other municipalities.
Yeah. I'm sure that can be frustrating at times too, because you're like, you got to finish it so that I can get, you know.
Well, there's always the friendly competition. And people love to always compare us to Carmel.
Right, of course.
But, you know, we're all kind of our own vibes and our own, you know, Noblesville, Westfield, Carmel, Fishers. And I think we all kind of own what we each do well. And we don't always try to replicate. Like, that's not always the goal.
Right.
And we want our residents to enjoy the amenities of other cities. And I love running on the Monon, too. Like I said, Josh loves doing the full mow. I always spectate that. I might try it sometime.
Were you at the Fishers Running Club spot last year?
I did stop by there, but I usually drop him off up in,
Sheridan
Atlanta,
or
Indiana, or whatever. And then I spectate all down. So I always go to like Quaker Park and I'm just standing there alone with my sign.
Yeah.
But I do think it'd be fun to bike it. We have a few people that like bike it and kind of help people out, like
that's cool.
Bring their water. But
he
he really wanted me to do it this year. And I was like, I am not in a position, but maybe next year. And it's June, so it can be hot.
Yeah, that's one of the things that scares me a little bit about that is the heat. But it's a different environment. It's not the same as a road marathon, which is what I've been used to. And I think having spent so many miles on the Monon Trail, I think it'd be a perfect like foray into ultra marathons.
It is an interesting race because it's not like closed. So you're running, you're like dying out there, and there's people just walking their dogs, drinking their coffee.
Yeah, that's funny.
And like as a spectator, I'll be standing there and I'll be like, woo, Josh. And like people are just staring at me. They're like, who is this lady? So in some ways, I think mentally it would be a hard race because you are like, and you're probably not by other people. There's not a ton of aid stations. So you really have to be self-supportive, but that makes it more of a challenge. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope to spectate again this year. I was out by the Fishers Running Club last year. So
they always have like such a fun. Like one year they had like confetti and bubbles.
Yeah.
And
I've learned that I just really like spectating too.
It's
fun. Its own sport and it can be so much fun.
It is tiring.
It's exhausting.
I was like trying to catch Josh. I was like running, you know.
Yeah.
Especially on the Monon, there's not always like a great place and you're trying to track them.
Yeah.
But yeah, spectating's fun. And if I lived downtown, I'd probably spectate more downtown races. But
yeah. So we're getting close to the end.
I know. It's been so fun.
I know, it like flew by. So I think the end of the podcast questions will be good because I have some questions to ask you around one of them.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what is your favorite running song and or mantra?
Okay. So mantra. So I love David Goggins. I feel like that's like, you know, some people love him. Some people are thinking he's crazy. I love David. And I've listened to his books on audio. I've read them. And he has a mantra around like the 1 second decision. And so for my first marathon, Sarah Farney, she actually makes bracelets, marathon bracelets.
Yes, she does.
She made me 1 second. And for me, it's about how your kind of 1 second decisions build and culminate into this huge, you know, can change your life.
Yeah.
And everything is just a 1 second decision. It's 1 second, am I going to run today or am I going to sit here? When you're running, it's about, am I going to like stop and take a break right now or I'm going to see if I can go 1 second longer? And that really helped me through the marathon and through some tough runs because it's like, okay, I want to stop, but like, let's see if I can do it one more second. Or if I stop now, you know, I'm not going to want to start again. And so, I mean, I think David has such an incredible story and he has so many great mantras, but I love that one. My running playlist is all over the place.
Yeah,
like
so smart,
it is nuts. It has musicals, it has Macklemore, it has Taylor Swift. I don't really have like a go-to song, especially with those longer runs. It's not all about getting amped. There's like some slow songs.
Right.
But I would say when I first started running, Glorious by Macklemore was like my go-to song.
I love that song.
And it's not a traditional running song, but there's a beat and then just the message.
No,
I'm
it's
like,
great.
oh yeah, I'm so
I'm
inspired.
obsessed. It's definitely on my running playlist.
Okay, I'm glad to, because I always feel like, I don't know, but that's been one for years. Yeah, but it's
especially when
evolved.
it's a nice day. If it's like a nice day, you're just like, this is
In the
glorious.
music video with his grandma.
I know. I've
I
seen
just
that
love
too.
It.
Oh, I love it.
I love Macklemore.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
yes, those are
That's
probably,
a good one.
Yeah.
I've never heard the 1 second one, so that's good too.
Yeah, 1 second. I mean, yeah, David Goggins has a lot of mantras.
Yeah,
and sometimes
he does.
I feel like runners are either like, oh gosh, it's David Goggins, or they're like, yeah, I love David. But
yeah,
regardless, he has such an incredible story. And I think about him like when I'm injured or trying to run, it's like, okay, he was running, his knee was messed up, his feet were broken.
Right, and he
had rhabdo. He's like
just
out there,
figured it out.
know.
Yeah.
So a heart condition. So it's pretty inspiring.
Yeah. And then next finish line or milestone is where I want to dig in a little bit because we talked earlier about how you are thinking about destination kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's May now.
It's May.
What's your next race?
So Butler is probably my next big one. Butler,
so that's 8 hour
in July. Yeah. And then I'll probably do Fort Bend half. And then
you will.
Marathon, the monumental.
Yeah.
So monumental, Butler are probably like 2 milestones. I'm doing 317, Spark Fishers, 5Ks, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this year, I think my milestone, I want to knock out a better time at the marathon. I've only done it once. I want to still enjoy it. But I think tied with that is I would love to do a 50K at Butler. I just don't know if it's in the cards this year.
You got so close last year.
And last year I took a 45-minute break because I didn't have a goal.
Yeah.
So after I ran a half, I went inside, I changed my clothes, I sat down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I wouldn't have taken that group break, so I think eventually a 50K is on my list.
Yeah.
Whether it be Butler or somewhere else. But right now it's those longer distances, really building that endurance and mental fortitude too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But destination race would be fun. I think that's a next year goal is to get outside of, you start to do the same races and they're fun and they have that special place, but you're kind of like, okay, I've done this. So keeping it fresh. Josh and I are eyeing Big Sur. That is a lottery and a hard race.
Yep.
So I do know a few people have run it. Someone I know did it as her first marathon, that's
intense.
Pretty incredible. I think that would be really exciting. A lot of elevation.
But so beautiful. I mean, the pictures.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
The time limits start to scare me because I am slower. I'm like, okay,
what is theirs? Do you know?
I think it's 6.
Okay.
So monumental's 8.
Yeah.
And I finished in 5:50 or something.
Yeah,
so if I trained, 6 wouldn't, but I'm like nervous. I'm like,
right. You don't want to have that add to your race day nerves and anxiety.
Hawaii is a special place in my heart. I know some people who have done Hawaii runs, Maui Marathon, Kauai, and then, less exciting, but Flying Pig would be fun. So just trying to get out there, and it's really about timing. All of the races are in that April, May, October, November timeline. And I'm like, I need them to be split a little because I still love, Monumental, like I said, is probably my favorite local race. And I'd love to keep doing that.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice that you can that we have Fort Bend and Geist so close together because you then have a race to go do.
For sure.
After you're so excited of your own event.
Fort Bend is fun.
I love it.
That was my second half I ever did. And I did not train on hills. I didn't really know. Stupidly, that it was hilly, but it's so pretty in October.
Oh, it's perfect.
October is my favorite season. It's beautiful, and that's always fun. I have always done that race, either a 10K or a half.
Yeah, it's a great
It'd be fun if they had a full, but
I know because they used to there.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
Oh,
I didn't.
Yeah,
know
it used to be. Oh gosh, I don't want to butcher this, but it was what was it called? Like the Indianapolis Marathon. I don't know, but there was a full marathon there.
Okay.
And then when Beyond Monumental bought the race, I think that's when it became the half.
Oh, wow.
And then we added the 10K, right?
The 10K is great. That's a great distance. It would be fun to have more 10Ks locally.
Yeah. This will be our 30th year for Fort Bend, so it's going to be a big year this year for us.
It's fun. And then you get to get the Indy-thon medal, which is really exciting when you do both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to do a big breakfast this year, I think, post-race. Yeah. There's some really fun
stuff. Like a caramel type, like pancakes
Yes.
and
Yep.
stuff?
Like that kind of vibe.
I love that.
Me too.
That is actually, I think Monumental and Carmel do really great after parties. Monumental, you get like the free pizza. Like the amount of free pizza I ate last year after I ran that marathon.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, but Carmel with the pancakes, like the after party is key.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And Fort Bend is such, I love it because it's small. It's not like overly crowded.
Right.
Josh and I had our wedding reception at Fort Bend. So it's like a special place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a great tune-up for the Monumental.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love it. I try to do like all of them.
Yeah. I got to talk to you more about this Beyond Monumental board. That's really fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
I love being involved. And I love being able to share my ideas.
Yeah.
And,
I always see you like on the Facebook groups, like, answering questions.
I know. I'm just trying to represent.
I know. The Indy Mini Facebook group was blowing up.
It was. I can't get enough of it.
And it's still blowing up.
It is.
I'm like checking it.
I know. All these cool stories. And
it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, Like I invited, I don't know how many people at the expo, probably 3 to be on my podcast. I met like this woman who had done the Mini, 39 times in a row.
Gosh.
And, there's just so many of those cool stories out there.
So many.
That I just love.
The expos are really fun. I've worked them a few times at the Geist booth.
Yeah.
And people are so excited. And then as a runner, I'm just like, sorry, the rest of the Geist workers. I'm like talking to this person about running for 45
forever.
minutes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then you are on a hunt to go at all the national parks, too, which could incorporate some running potentially.
Yes, this is kind of my new kick from last year. We love to camp, hike, be outdoors, but I started listening to some national parks podcasts, read some books. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to every park. I want to take my kids, have this experience growing up, seeing, the natural beauty.
Of our own country before you travel the world.
Yeah, for years I was like, we got to go out of the country. And so we're slowly getting there with young kids,
Believe me, yeah.
Because Josh and I will hike. We'll be all day, loading up, and these kids cannot handle it. And so I don't want to go too many cool places until they can handle them. So we did the Smokies, Mammoth Cave. We're doing the Badlands this year.
Oh, cool.
So I've never been to South
Dakota. Is that South? Okay, I was South or North, yeah.
And they have Wing Cave out there, but I'm really eyeing for next summer Yellowstone or Rockies or maybe the Utah parks. Sorry, I keep hitting your mic. I'm just so excited about the national parks. With my kids. So
that's great. It'd be great.
And there are races out there.
Right.
I know they do that's a whole different thing, racing at elevation. And
right.
stuff,
I know. Yeah. Well, I've done one in Salt Lake City, the Run Revel, where they bust you up a mountain and you run down. And then I really want to I turn 40 next year. And so I really am eyeing, there's a Ragnar in Zion.
Yes, that would be amazing. You did a Ragnar last year,
Yes,
right?
up in Michigan. Yeah,
I've
on
never
the roads.
done one of those.
It's cool. It's a really fun experience. Yeah. So anyway, I could talk to you all day.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Allie.
And happy running to everybody who's listened.
Yes, happy summer running.
And happy summer running. Yes, let's go. All right, we did it. If you enjoyed this episode of Finish Lines and Milestones from Sandy Boy Productions podcasts, please go share, rate, review. That's the biggest thing you can do to help. Also, if we aren't already friends on Instagram, you can follow me at Allie, ALLYT, BRETT. That's Allie T Brett _runs. See you next week.